name is David.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to bring to your attention, I heard this morning you were discussing issues that the PNP have taken umbrage with and have sought to deny the Jamaican people the benefits of. And I just wanted to re-raise the constitutional matter. More specific, the Jamaica becoming a republic issue and the stance that Golding has taken on it. Now, you played the clip earlier, and the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs would have played the clip in Parliament as well, showing the duplicity of Mr. Golding.
Mm-hmm.
But something that has escaped the discussion is an editorial that was written by Mr. Garnet Roper, stating that Golding's masterful strokes in the budget debate should not be ignored.
And this was speaking when this was an editorial back in 2022?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was 2021 actually. It's 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And when Mrs. Malahoo would have raised the matter showing the hypocrisy of Mark Golding, he responded in a Gleaner story saying that he was misunderstood and that he could not anticipate that the government would be trying to move forward with 1 foot in, 1 foot out, to paraphrase. But Mr. Roper, for all those who don't know, is well connected to the People's National Party, specifically to Bunting and Golding. And I just want to read an excerpt from his editorial for you and your listeners, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. This is who? Garnet Roper speaking?
Garnet Roper.
Very well, go ahead.
He says, the public can quibble about what was the high water mark of Golding's presentation. But for my part, it was his imagination about constitutional matters. He expressed the view that the time had come for Jamaica to become a constitutional republic and replace the monarchy with a Jamaican head of state. He also said that the time had come for the Caribbean Court of Justice to become Jamaica's final appellate court. He admitted that the JLP had not yet come to that view, but that we should go ahead with what is already agreed. This editorial was shared by Mark Golding himself and several persons in the PNP, almost lauding him for saying, okay, this is how we should move forward with becoming a republic. But 3 and 4 and 5 years later, no, the argument has changed because it doesn't suit his narrative, because it's an election year, and because the PNP wants it to be said that, they are the ones who did it.
Yep. That's a part of what is at stake here. The PNP cannot bear for the records to show that it was the JLP that took Jamaica to republic.
Exactly. There's a song by Ding Dong Marlon that says, the good things then.
Mm-hmm.
And every time the government tries to put forward the good things then for the people of Jamaica to benefit, the PNP steps forward to say, them not deserve that. Don't give that to them.
And make no mistake, caller. I have already detected them angling to tear down and chastise the Solidarity Initiative. So just to be clear, the Solidarity Initiative listeners will see 50,000 Jamaicans benefiting from a cash grant of 20,000 Jamaican dollars. These are persons who are essentially needy and are not benefiting from relief by any official program or initiative of government. They are not on PATH, they are not on NIS, they are not NIS beneficiaries, yes, and they certainly were not among the 300,000+ beneficiaries of the government's reverse income tax credit last year. Yes, that $20,000 reverse income tax credit. So I have already detected that they're going to come and try and decry the $20,000. But what I'm pointing out to listeners this morning is that, listen, the persons who will be benefiting from the government's Solidarity Initiative, the Solidarity Program, are persons who played a hand in the sacrifice, the collective sacrifice Jamaica had to make when we were called upon to pay $60 billion in new taxes under the PNP administration of 2012 to February 2016. And so, whereas the country is in a position that it can do something for them who have not benefited really prior to, in terms of a discrete cash grant outside of COVID relief and so on, for example, the dividends that government is able to afford them should be afforded them.
And it will be hypocritical, Marlon, of the PNP to be encouraging, whether it's their supporters or the Jamaican people, to not accept or not apply if they, if they qualify. You see how they try to tear down the return income tax credit.
Yeah, the reverse.
And it's hypocritical because Mark Golding took his salary increase. Dayton Campbell took his salary increase. Mm-hmm. They all stood and took their salary increase, despite the pomp and pageantry that they carried on within that press conference where they were saying, roll it back, roll it back, roll it back.
This is the same salary increase in respect of which Julian Robinson got up in the House and indicated no objection. In fact, he welcomed it because they knew and they recognized that this was something that was long outstanding in terms of the treatment of the political directorate.
I don't think Julian Robinson is brazen enough to attempt to speak on behalf of the entire PNP without first caucusing or having discussions with at least the leadership. And when he stood and spoke, he didn't say, I have no objections. He said, we on this side have no issue with it. Those were his exact words.
Yeah.
So, it's hypocritical for them to be telling people that these grants being offered by the government should not be taken or, are an election ploy. But they have taken their massive salary increases. Some who have promised to donate to charity have not done so, but rather have been putting them in their own and in PNP's own little, funds that they manage and administer, right? So, it's just the duplicity of the leader of the opposition on so many issues, especially issues that goes to benefit the wider Jamaican public. Is just becoming worse and worse, and it's no wonder his polling has taken a hit. They've opted. I've heard from good sources that they will now be sharing their poll results only internally. But there may be other reasons for that as well. But if you continue to put a front up for the Jamaican people, one that cannot be trusted, one that flip-flops, then, we're not idiots.
People are going to, grade you and assess you on the basis of what you have been, exhibiting and portraying.
Precisely. So the urban center, the rural school bus, all these issues that the PNP keeps knocking on, things that benefit the people of Jamaica, the good things then. There are so many issues, and if all you can do in opposition is attack the good things, you're attacking a 42% reduction in crime, and you're scrambling to find a way to move the attention away from the excellent work that Dr. Herstrang and his team are doing. You appoint a retired policeman as a deputy spokesperson on crime.
On national security,
you have Bunting saying that when he plans, what his plans, if he is
returned as national security minister,
he's going to be working. He's going to be taking over the role of the Integrity Commission, essentially. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, man, that's very inappropriate. In fact, I had queued up the tape here. I'm going to play it for the benefit of the listeners.
Marlon, and I hope you raise it in Parliament. That for him to be saying that should he be given the role of being at the helm of national security, he would use the information, he would use access to that information, he would use his position to politically target his opponent. That's essentially what he said,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very undemocratic. But, that's just my interpretation of what he has said.
All right. I have to leave it there this morning, David. Thank you for your intervention, my brother.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Good. All right. So very important observation there, because Bunting was speaking recently at a PNP divisional conference where he made those very unfortunate and disturbing remarks. And I am yet to hear JFJ speaking on that issue. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Morning, Senator. How are you?
Yeah, morning. I'm good.
Right. No, there are few questions I have and observations in regards to what is happening to the ordinary Jamaican. I know that it is your opinion that Jamaica is going well.
You sound a bit low.
But can you hear me much better?
Yeah,
now?
man. You said I'm of the opinion that Jamaica is going well. Yeah.
Right. But I want to tell you that there are some of us who don't live in that parallel universe. Right?
I see.
That our realities are different and the people's reality are much different from what the government.
All right, let me ask you one question, caller. Is there anything that I have enumerated in relation to Jamaica going well that is not undergirded by or supported by empirical and demonstrable and compelling evidence? You want me to repeat the question? Do you want me to repeat the question, sir?
I totally understand the question, Marlon. I totally understand the question.
Well.
But I'm saying to you, the realities, even though you are stating statistics, yes, the realities don't match your statistics.
Give me an example of the realities to which you refer.
I'll tell you one of those. For example, you talk about in housing. The JLP made a promise that they would construct 70,000 houses, yes, using the vehicle of the NHT or the HAJ. To date, except for the continuous indigent housing, which was always there because that was a part of the
concrete houses for the indigent was always there, or was it board houses, the food for the poor board houses?
We are referring
Don't make up your own information, sir. You're entitled to your own opinion, but not to your own facts. And I'm so happy you've called in. I'm so happy you've called in. And I will encourage you to continue to call in.
I also want to raise another question with you as I go, because I know there are other...
No, man. I have no more callers. You have up until 11 o'clock.
Okay. In relation to the Ministry of Education, right? What was your role at the Ministry of Education?
My brother,
when you preside,
my role is a matter of public information. So just to be clear, I served at the Ministry of Education as Senior Technical Coordinator, and at a subsequent point, I was asked to act as what is called Executive Director in the Executive Services Unit. So just to be clear, my brother, I did research and wrote cabinet submissions at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information at the time. It is now the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information.
Absolutely. In any of those roles, were you required to provide any services which required project management?
Not discreetly, no.
Not discreetly. Okay, so therefore you are not in charge of projects, particularly which included the tertiary education transformation. Well, tertiary transformation.
That's what I said, not discreetly, sir. Listen to what I'm saying, as opposed to your talking points or figments of your imagination.
No, my talking point.
My brother.
I know you know. This is not my talking point.
My brother.
Raising a question because a ministry that you presided over, Senator.
I did. First of all, sir, I presided over no ministry, and I understand the desperation. All right, Mr. Sir.
No, that you resided at.
You are the person. Remind me of your name again. You are who? You are head boy or what is your name?
Well, I am the same head boy that was on the program with you on Portland.
All right, very well. All right, so pause a moment. So first things first, my good sir. First things first, my brother. Zin, I wish for us to speak alternately. Zin? So you will say you're a bit and me say my bit. So now, I'm going on to make the point that I have long observed a degree of desperation in keeping with my opening comments this morning on the part of the PNP regarding me at Ministry of Education I have never held a job, sir, that involved the handling of money or payment of money to persons or anything like that. And I've seen that kind of gibberish on social media on the part of people who are desperate.
And I want to thank
yes?
you for the clarification. I want to thank you.
So when I see certain things, I find it laughable.
When you ask questions, no,
but go ahead, sir.
You only clarification when you ask questions, and you have clarified that you did not handle any funds at the Ministry of Education.
I hear people saying all kind of things about money and Grace McLean and a whole heap of nonsense. But anyway, let us come to some substantive issues here, sir.
No,
in the budget debate, hold on, Edward. We're walking and talking. That's what. Watch me now. In the budget debate, sir, one of the points Mark Golding made is not dissimilar to a point you're making now, where he's saying, never mind the statistics, people are feeling a particular way. Now, essentially, Mark Golding sought to jettison and downplay the importance of statistics. The question is, the statistics behind which and on which this government stand, isn't it the same statistics on which the PNP stands? So for example, when I hear Wilfred Rattigan come on this very platform on Monday, as he did on Make We Talk YouTube platform Monday evening, yes, having said his rubbish on Monday morning with my colleague host on this program, he sought to make the point that murders are not going down. He also asserted, my good friend, that what the government is doing, essentially what the police is doing, is hiding the true murder figures. That makes sense to you?
No, 1 second. I am not in the position, nor you in the position, to compare the experience of a one Wilfred Rattigan. No, hold on. You are of the view that the views exposed by Wilfred Rattigan is inaccurate. I am not of this.
No, but
he has had experience in that era. He has had experience in that era. And one thing with me, I stick to what I know.
True.
And I'm not going
so watch me now.
1 second, Senator, because
sure, I'm holding. Go ahead.
In reference to the national issue.
Yeah.
Repeatedly, the JLP has been advancing an argument that it deserves a third term. And you ask yourself, with all the statistics that you have quoted, and like Portia Simpson-Miller would say all the time, you must balance the book while balancing people's lives.
You mean like 60 billion in new taxes with no balancing of people's life? How did that balance life when you wanted to go into an ATM machine with poor, ordinary Jamaicans, including pensioners, who are going to draw them little $5,000? Dr. Phillips was proposing to go into the ATM with them, Mr. Headboy. You recall?
No, Senator, let us set it in.
You could have said Senator 10 times it don't change what I said a while ago, you know.
No, the economy that the JLP now brags and boasts about was because of the hard political capital that was expended by Portia Simpson-Miller. When in 2010-11, when the JLP went to the IMF, designed their own program, but couldn't pass the test. And it made the relationship.
You remember the lead up to the February 2011 election? What was the JLP's flagship undertaking in the lead up to the February 25, 2016 general election? 1.5, right?
What, the 1.5?
1.5 was its flagship undertaking, right? Watch me now.
Which cost us how much money?
Watch me now, head boy. You see that flagship undertaking, the PNP, persons like Ralston Hyman, the then Finance Minister, Dr. Phillips, they took issue with it and took a swipe. You know what they said? The JLP's 1.5 would mash up the country. Now, the JLP delivered on 1.5, and in circumstances where the country not mash up, in fact, the opposite of mashing up the country has happened. You are going to say that the JLP is boasting about economic management, that essentially is the PNP did it?
So you are not allowed the right to your own alternative facts. There were taxes were
I didn't mention that. I didn't say there were no taxes a while ago. You heard me say that?
18. No, no, but Marlon, if you are going to say that when the PNP was saying that program would in fact affect it,
head boy, you know the germane point I made? The germane point I made, my friend, is that the PNP did say, if we not do this, we're not going to mash up the place. The folks did the same thing that they said would mash up the place, and the place never mash up. You understand that fundamental point?
No, Well, I mean,
Well.
let's concede that.
You
Let's
done well
concede
now.
that. No, I want you to be on Marlon. Let's concede that point. If you want to take that point, that's.
But I want to take
what
up
I
on an
want to
aspect of
ask-
that, head boy.
What I want
Because
to ask,
you're correct in
I
that.
want to ask-
Hold on. But before we pivot from that, I just want to clarify this point. It is correct that the undertaking the JLP gave is not what it delivered on in government. So just to be clear, the JLP said we would relieve persons earning $1.5 million per annum or less of income tax. So in other words, persons who were above the threshold would continue to pay that threshold. So it was a select group of persons who the undertaking applied to. When the party formed government, however, and based on dialogue and interactions with the IMF didn't want for an untidy state of payroll affairs. They wanted one standard regime across the board. So the 1.5 undertaking had to apply, head boy, not to some people, but to everybody. You understand that?
Marlon, that 1.5.
Head boy, you have no idea how I'm happy you called into the program.
No,
you have no idea. I would sponsor you calling into the program. I will pay your phone bill to call into the program. I will provide credit to you to call into the program.
I don't need your credit, my friend. I know as an old cricketer from Maxfield Park. You can Google that one, yeah. You can spin that one, yeah. You can twist this one. But the reality I want to ask, do you think any well-thinking Jamaican now haven't looked at the performer, not just the performer, but look at the uncertified prime minister who's seeking re-election?
So you have an unverified. So we have an uncertified prime minister, head boy, and we have an unverified opposition leader. Now the prime minister is certified in. Hold on, head boy. Watch me now.
Marlon, you have to take that.
Right, I'm going to allow you to speak and then I speak. I don't want us to speak at the same time. Go ahead.
No, you have said that the opposition leader is unverified.
Yeah. You didn't ask what I mean by that. What? I want the platform to speak to that.
What are you referring to?
So now, Andrew Holness is a born Jamaican as evidenced by his birth certificate and everybody who know him. Mark Golding, head boy, asserts to have been born in Jamaica, but is yet to verify and demonstrate to us that that is in fact the case. We have no birth certificate for Mark Golding. He just makes assertions. Yes? Unverified claims.
Marlon, come on.
Yes, sir.
Come on, man. What a desperate and low.
But I was going on to say, head boy, I was going on to make a point about the things that the Prime Minister is certified in, because the Prime Minister is not certified based on Kevin Stevenson's. Hold on now, head boy. I don't want us to talk at the same time, G. So I'm going to yield again and allow you, and then I complete the thought I'm making.
No, and I'm referring to this situation because I think the JLP, and I am not afraid to say who I support. I support the People's National Party.
That goes without saying, man. That is of no moment.
No.
We know that already.
But this attempt by people in the JLP of using Mr. Gordon's skin color.
I didn't say anything about skin color a while ago, my friend. My brother, you hear what I talk about a while ago? Me talk about wet party gentleman born. That's what I spoke to my brother.
Was not born in Jamaica. Matthew Samuda was not born in Jamaica.
Me no response to Matthew Samuda. Matthew Samuda is not vying to be Prime Minister of Jamaica. Mark Golding is vying to be Prime Minister of Jamaica.
But Mark Golding does not. He was born in Jamaica. And
yes, so verify that with the tangible information. So remember now, head boy, just pause a minute, my brother. Pause a minute. You see, some months ago, the point Jeanette Calder made is a point that was misunderstood by many. Jeanette Calder didn't say that money was missing, or unaccounted for, That's why she revised her utterance. The money was not verified in terms of the Auditor General's body of work that is to be done. And it's the same point I'm making with Mark Golding. Mark Golding asserts that he was born in Jamaica, but he's not able to evidence. He has elected not to evidence that by furnishing Jamaica with his birth certificate. And many are putting it to Mark Golding that he has not done so because he cannot do so. He has no Jamaican birth certificate. He was not born here. Many would contend.
Let's put it this way.
Yes, sir.
Let's take your argument that Mr. Golden can verify when. Let's take that argument.
Sure.
But one
You have
thing
no
we are
idea how
certain
delighted I am that you have called in. The head boy running
No,
up and down the
yourself,
place and talking about me playing cricket at Maxwell Park. So what if I play cricket at Maxwell Park with ghetto youths in the ghetto? I love the
Nobody
ghetto
said
people.
anything wrong with that,
I hear
man.
Lambert Brown
That's
talking
anything
about
that-
syrup. You know that is poor people drink syrup?
No, people are wanting you to remember. You said the attack approach of the GP. Let me tell you something.
Yes,
I
sir.
am going to predict it. And I will stand by it.
Mm-hmm.
The People's National Party will win 41. Remember
Very
my
well,
word,
very
not
well,
my
head boy.
word that
Very
I-
well.
And I want to tell which one is going to be that one in Western Central. Leave your party without a party.
Very well,
I
very
can
well.
assure you
All right,
of
so
that.
but head boy, so I've noted that head boy.
If the Prime Minister is so satisfied that he has done so, the statistics is good.
We have runs. We have some more runs to put on the board. We have some more runs to put on the board. So, head boy, I'm going to ask you this as we run to the 11 o'clock. Head boy, I'm going to ask you this, my brother, as we run to the 11 o'clock. Zine, is the Prime Minister certified in having reduced crime by 42% year to date so far? The answer is yes. Is the Prime Minister certified in having handed out concrete houses to poor Jamaicans? The answer is yes. All right, head boy, watch me now. Is the Prime Minister certified in having instituted a rural school bus system in Jamaica? Something that PJ Patterson never did.
Why are you referring to what?
Is the Prime Minister certified?
That is already buggered down.
It's buggered down.
By pressure because the
there's no word that said buggered. You may want to say bogged down.
Well, Marlon, all I have to say to you is that the JUTC already has its financial issues. What we should have been doing.
My brother, I would literally pay you for this call. You have no idea.
But you
have no idea.
We need to look at the health of JUTC. You know what is happening? I'm certain why the JLP wants to destroy the JUTC, because anything that them like to mash down. Yeah? And we have a mash down government and a mash down prime minister who, when the time comes, I show you that, Morgan. In the 90 days in the Senate, you will be.
Head boy, don't be a stranger. I'll be on tomorrow. Call in tomorrow, and we can continue on some other things.
Tomorrow, you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about $31 million.
So, yeah, man, tomorrow we're calling and we'll talk about the drill. So, call in tomorrow, we'll talk about the $31 million drill, all right? All the best, my brother. All the best. Good. All right, we run to the NPR News and then come back with more here on Straight Up thereafter. Stay with us. Put the spotlight, listeners, on an issue that is deserving of public comment and public condemnation, particularly having regard to developments that have been topical in media of late. We know that Anissa Dilworth, her life has essentially been cut short, having regard to, taxi service that she sought to avail herself of. Her skeletal remains, it is believed, were found in the Fort Clarence area over in Portmore St. Catherine. Young Kelsey Ferrigan is no longer with us on account of what is alleged to have been rape and strangulation at the hands of Giovanni Ellis, who was subsequently cut down by police. And of course, that gruesome beating that we saw on a particular nurse apparently employed to the University Hospital of the West Indies, and that beating was captured essentially on video. We're putting a spotlight on gender-based violence in this segment, but the Parliament, quite importantly, consequent on a statement from the Minister of Gender Affairs, Olivia Babsy-Grange, treated with this issue. And the Minister, as she did on Monday when she joined a group of protesters, registered her deep concern. And of course, we saw Angela Brown-Burke getting to her feet and seeking to politicize this issue. Yes, raising the issue of the JLP's George Wright. But this is how Kerencia Morrison of the JLP clapped back, and quite appropriately and fittingly so.
Mr. Speaker, we face here the culture of abuse, spousal abuse, battered women, battered men, from all walks of life. From all walks of life. Men who beat their wife, Husbands beating them wives. And it is unfortunate that a former member of parliament, right in here, it tells us that it touches every aspect of life. There are no barriers. And when we think about matters that are before the court, persons being charged for murder, former parliamentarian, it's really a humbling call that nobody here has the right to be pointing finger. No, it's not the time to make for political one-upmanship right across the aisle. These are issues that we have to deal with. A former parliamentarian, former MP, charged for murder.
May Melissa Silvera's soul continue to rest in peace and light perpetual shine upon her. And we pray that her children, who will be in the care at present of other family members, that they be comforted and sustained as they would have suffered a most gruesome and horrific experience some months ago, little over a year now. We're joined in this segment, listeners, by noted public affairs commentator and gender rights activist, Dr. Nadine Spence. Good morning, Nadine.
Good morning, Marlon. I'm not hearing you so well.
Well, I trust it is a bit better now.
Yes, it's better.
Very well.
Yes.
All right, so this issue of gender-based violence, certainly consequent on that video footage that we would have all seen, Nadine, is back, at the fore. Some would say, is this going to be another round of 9-day talk? Your initial reactions to all that is happening in the public discourse at present, particularly as it relates to that damning video that we saw last Thursday evening with that gentleman beating upon the nurse.
I mean, to be honest, if that hadn't been videoed, we would have heard about it and we would have gone along without batting an eyelid.
True.
The reason why this is being brought to our attention is because we saw the video. But these are things that happen all the time, because subsequently, Marlon, have been hearing other women who are now giving account of what they feel is encounter with the same gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, there is one reason why this is now grabbing the public's attention, and that is, of course, because we saw the video. But other things have happened too that we haven't seen the video of, but which people have been shocked at. We heard about the 9-year-old little girl who was raped and killed. But we also heard that wasn't the first time that young man had done that he had been as menacing, been as violent before. Mm-hmm. And that for some reason the court decided to give him bail, and that some members of his family and friends decided to take him into a community and put him around children. We've heard about the two girls, 9 and 10, walking home from school, who were both kidnapped and raped. And we also heard about the young lady from UTEC who was
Anissa Dilworth. Anissa Dilworth, yeah. Anissa,
who was abducted and killed, and we don't know if she was also sexually assaulted, although more than likely in situations like this we know that usually is the precursor to the violence, killing, that is the precursor to murder.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go back through the weeks, we are going to recognize that almost weekly there are acts of violence against women and girls, and I don't call them domestic violence. I'm very particular when I talk about violence against women and girls, because they are of a particular nature. They happen because women and girls are in relationships of trust with men who abuse that trust, and that is when you're in relationships of trust, even if it's with a taxi driver who you trust to take it from one place to another, a family friend who you trust, and you're not putting up any defenses in this case, or you're driving on the road,
mm-hmm.
and you expect other drivers to behave in a same way, you have very little way to protect yourself as a woman. How do you protect yourself from, or as a girl, how do you protect yourself?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, it's not new. Our society is used to it. Marlon, we have a policy that is focused on the prevention of violence against women and girls.
Mm-hmm.
The gender from the Ministry of Gender, we have laws that are supposed to do that. And we have the police force, which is supposed to have a focus on domestic violence and within that, violence against women and girls. But we have a society where violence against women and girls is accepted. And whenever we start to have the conversation, Marlon, we start here. But men face violence too. And,
like a kind of equivocation?
Huh?
A kind of equivocation to say, well,
yes.
But men are also, the victims of, which is true,
right.
Technically, yes.
It is true, but we're talking about two different kinds of violence, right? But, and even if we're going to find a solution, we have to see them as different and treat them as different because the root causes are different, right? Yeah. So we can't use one to cancel out the other and say, oh, well, more men die in Jamaica than women, so why are women complaining? Which I've heard, and one of the reasons why I've stopped engaging the matter in public is because that sentiment gets...
It's too upsetting for you, personally,
Yeah, I can't engage it anymore because it's so much... It feels itself to hear that and to participating in conversations like that is itself violent.
It's almost like re-traumatizing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But Marlon, yesterday I was having some conversation with the women. I work with women at Mary P. Cole Hall at UA, and I have a particular group of women that I work with called the Amzalama Girls, women for the Amzalama Girl Foundation. And I was saying to them, I need you women to talk about this. I don't want to be out there talking about it. I want you to talk about it as a group of young women. And in bringing them up to speed is what has happened. I talked to them about the committee that was reviewing the Sexual Offences Act, the Domestic Violence Act, the Child Care and Protection Act, and the Offences Against the Person. Did I say that? At the time when it was started, Marlon, Kamina Johnson-Smith was in opposition, and Floyd Green, and they were on the committee reviewing those pieces of legislation. I remember because I made representation at that committee, and that in 2019, the report of that committee was accepted by both houses, and we were promised then through the Minister of Gender Affairs that the work would be necessary now, would begin now to craft the laws that would change some of the laws that we have in Jamaica that makes it. One of the things we heard about the man who subsequently killed the 9-year-old girl is that he had raped a 12-year-old girl before and hit her in the head. And then
some family member of his. And then he had this stepdaughter now who he was before the courts on that matter, which is what he was out on bail on because he had served a period of incarceration. He did his time on that 12-year-old related matter. Then for this stepdaughter of his now, a child who was 2 at the time, he was out on bail in relation to that matter when he reoffended.
So you see, this is a man who's a serial abuser of children,
Yep.
But still our laws didn't. And there was another case the other day where somebody went in front of the court and argued to be given less time because he had molested a girl who was about 7. And then he and his lawyer's argument was that she had a sexually transmitted disease, but he was not the one who gave it to her, so he needed to be given special consideration for that. A lot of these things happen in our courts, we don't pay attention. And that the adjustment to that to those pieces of legislation would have what we see as thief offenders getting a slap on the wrist as it relates to those matters of violence against women and children, and especially vulnerable, who we deem as vulnerable, which is the older people with disabilities and children. We have heard nothing about those pieces of legislation. Nothing. They were accepted in 2019. It's now 2025, Marlon. You're in the Senate now.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything back from those reviews. That was the deliberations that made marital rape unlawful, that spoke about aggravation in those matters that I just spoke to. that spoke, so we have a lot.
I'll have to
we discussed the last
reconsult
time.
that statement because I know the Minister of Gender Affairs, Minister Grange, that is, gave a statement to the House last afternoon. I'll have to reconsult that. I'd commend it to you as well to determine the degree to which there was any update as to where government is at present with those consequential amendments to legislation that would better protect the nation.
And Marlon, you know that I am somebody who would have the ears of Minister Grange and who
absolutely, yes.
And you know that, so I'm having this conversation out of
no, you're well intentioned, and that's the spirit within which I receive it.
Exactly, because I think that 6 years is a long wait for legislation after the public has been consulted and after we have gone through that process of haggling over what is necessary for the protection of the vulnerable.
Well, what I'm happy about, though, Nadine, is from an infrastructure standpoint, these women's shelters that have since come on stream in terms of these kinds of almost timeout and supportive kind of, accommodation where a woman who has been the victim of abuse and, assault, as it were, is able to retreat from that toxic and abusive household and situation
agree
to these
and
safe
appreciate
spaces.
That.
Yeah.
But I want to say to you that whereas in Jamaica we have 2, Trinidad has about 6 or 8. And I want to say as well that, I'm in a group with women, the Jamaica Women's Movement. I'm in a group with those women. And as you talk, I need to reach out to the Bureau, because a lot of women don't know how to refer people to those shelters because we don't know what the processes and procedures are. So that if I know of a woman who's in trouble, I have access to people. So I can call and say, Head of Gender Affairs, what do I do? Which I have done in the past. But in that group, 2 Sundays ago, there was a woman there who was saying, I have a woman who needs help. How do I access a shelter? So Marlon, in other words, what I'm saying is we've done some, but we need to be much more emphatic about this matter. When I finished my first degree, I remember reading, my first degree is in politics. And when I started to venture in this thing about women's rights, I remember reading a statement, that was a long ago, which came from the UN, which says, while Jamaica is much more advanced than most countries in terms of how it has advanced legislation and policy for the protection of women's rights and women's well-being and children and the vulnerable, it hasn't done enough to change the culture. So on the material aspects, the legislation, the policy, the institutions, we're kind of doing well. We tend to be responsive. But when it comes on to engaging
socialization
in the
and behavioral,
yes, we haven't begun that process. And that's why I said to you, nowadays I am very skeptical about engaging in public conversations about this matter because usually even journalists and those who interview thought leaders on the radio and so on push back as if we are having a philosophical conversation from the book, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. That's something there? We have to bring in a balanced perspective. No, don't bring a balanced perspective for me. How do you balance a 9-year-old being raped and stuffed in a barrel? What is the balanced perspective to that? How do you balance what happened to the nurse on the road? What would a male perspective? How would a male perspective differ from my perspective, and why would it differ from my perspective?
On that score, Nadine. No, complete the thought, complete the point, and then I come to the question. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, when it comes down to violence, and when we know the extent and the impact of it, the only perspective is people's well-being, people's health, and the need to create spaces or create a society
conditions
where
that
everybody
foster
feels
and
safe.
promote that.
Yes.
All right, but to the extent that there's been this public, outcry, uproar having regard to that video that came out last Thursday, is that not suggestive of a collective consciousness as Jamaicans in this society of ours that, listen, this is something we shun, we seek to eschew this kind of behavior in our society?
Yeah, I mean, I remember a couple of years ago when I keep forgetting her name, and I shouldn't do that. The young lady Dean went missing.
Oh, Jasmine Dean. So this is Jasmine Dean.
And that we
from
went
St.
out on the
Thomas.
streets and all of the things.
Yeah, there was heavy mobilization.
I mean, I think we have the appropriate response. So you're right. There is a way in which when something is shocking enough, we respond. But I don't want it to be the shocking things that we respond to. You know what I mean? I think we have to talk about how we parent children so we protect them, you know? So Marlon, my granddaughter, my first granddaughter, I have 2 grandchildren. One of them is 9 years old. And, you know, the impact of that, of the violence against that little girl who was killed and the other 2 walking from school, it's chilling. Yeah, you want, these things have a kind of impact on the society, so that the 40% reduction in crime that we are hearing about, it immediately, one act immediately cancels the impact of that. Because when you saw that woman being hurt, that man stepping on that woman's head with such brutality, in front of people, with such brutality, with such a lack of regard for anything, immediately you start to say to yourself, that could be me. I start thinking about this several times. I am on the road and people bad drive me, and I reach out and say, why I do that for, or whatever, and I have now decided I would never say that again.
God, yeah,
it has a chilling impact on all of society.
I mean, I was listening to a program yesterday, Nadine, as we wrap up the segment, where the president of UTEC was speaking elsewhere in Radioland, and he made the point that he couldn't watch the video in its entirety because he when he saw the man flip over the nurse, that was just next level horrific. That could have easily broken, you know, her vertebrae and compromised her, you know, physiological condition going forward. She could have easily been paralyzed from the waist down or from the neck down.
And when you think that he knew she was a nurse because he would have seen her uniform.
She donned in the white also.
A nurse is somebody who cares for you in a hospital. No matter, a lot of people, when they realize that you're a nurse or a doctor or somebody who is in the caring profession, immediately people come to terms with that and say, you never know when I will need the services of this person. Yeah.
Because Mr. Robert Bell is not an iron. He may be one of those persons who find himself at the University Hospital of the West Indies, albeit Tony Thwaites wing perhaps.
Exactly. Yeah, but the level of cruelty displayed in that, and you know, even I think, I don't remember which parish we have with the gentleman who took 2 girls, 9 and 10 years old, and raped them.
It was somewhere in South Central Jamaica. It may have been St. Elizabeth or Manchester. I'm not so sure. I think it may have been St.
I don't remember where. When I couldn't finish reading that story, I was like, how depraved, how depraved can you be that you see 2 girls walking home? But we've seen other moments like that. Remember, there was one in, I think, Hanover, where a stepfather took his stepdaughter, raped her, killed her, and then helped to look for her.
In Stirling Castle some years ago. You know, these incidents have come up every so often, which is why there are these renewed calls for, you know, sex offenders registry. And I've heard the Prime Minister in this regard, and we trust that there'll be some, you know, effective movement to better empower the citizenry, the communities.
Sex offenders registry. Remember, we have one now that is.
Yeah, but we know that the registry is a matter of how persons can more readily access it, and whether we get it to be public. So we're looking forward to some developments in that regard. But I have to thank you for your time with us this morning, Dr. Spence.
Thanks for inviting me.
Good. Do have a good rest of the day, my friend. All the best.
All right, bye-bye.
We're going to go to the break and come back with your cause as we go up to the end of the program at midday, listeners. Remember the numbers, 212-9824, and there's also 462-0919. Stay with us.
Senator Morgan, morning.
Morning, sir.
You can't expect any better things from Dawes. Dawes have a leader, a British citizen, a leading, who doesn't speak the truth either. They don't expect anything better from Dawes. And Dawes, them waste all of them time for 4 years a quarrel about Andrew decoration. And time catch up on them now when they look straight in at the third term and don't know where to turn. Straight into the third term and then don't know where to turn. So Daz, I think you can find something to stick.
So your reference to Mark Golding a while ago is not speaking the truth. Are you referring, for example, to the instance in which the journalist at a press conference asked Mark Golding about FinSac and he made the point that he had never done
him about FinSac and he said he not have nothing to do with it.
When in fact there is information to the contrary.
Thank you. And after fixing it, tackle him in the Senate.
Yeah.
And it's just the same thing. Bunting went and mislead Jamaica in the Senate about a contractor concerning one school. And the contractor went on a public radio and said it is not true. The ministry owe him no money. And then I heard yesterday, Peter Phillips' son, must be Sunday evening, I talk about the bus system where going to help the pauperized people them people who live in the bush areas them to see that they can go to school. That is a foolishness. Those parents doesn't have no brother. We're involved in a $90 million and judge pat them financial and almost let them go scot-free. But then couldn't call up and to give them something. So what the government is doing
here to the arrested and charged and before the courts, Mr. Robert Chin, the half-brother, as it were, of the incumbent MP for Northwest Manchester, Mr. Michael Phillips.
Michael Phillips. $90 million worth of cocaine. And he went before a judge and must pay $500,000. That was a spot, that was a play upon his shoulder.
You know that there's something that we need to we're gonna have to start focusing attention on in this country, because the judiciary in this country has often been treated as though they are sacred cows.
Exactly.
The public would have reacted with disgust recently at the thought of this man who had certain antecedents, Giovanni Ellis that is, being out on bail. And you get the clear sense that, listen, some questionable decisions are happening amongst members of the judiciary. And we don't trespass on the separation of powers in our democratic system of governance. But I dare say, just like the Integrity Commission, the men and women who are magistrates or judges in this country are not sacred cows. There needs to start being a degree of discussion and closer examination of some of these determinations and decisions emerging from the judiciary in this country.
What happened Friday also? What happened Friday? The question I want to ask the Senator.
Yes, sir.
So the ruling we went on Friday, the judge, they must be the 140 people who are dead a day before it come a state of emergency or something to be done.
Well, I'm delighted that
people to the dead.
I'm delighted that the appeal will ensue. Just to point out to you, Carl, and to the listeners generally. Zane, one of the judges on that panel, she was also a judge on the panel in relation to that initial matter concerning the DPP. So she was among those who ruled Paula Llewellyn to go home. But that ruling, as we now note and recall, was overturned on appeal.
Yes.
So
I remember.
Mrs. What's your name? Simone Wolf-Rees?
Wolf-Rees. Anyhow, Senator, I'll talk to you about another time.
All right, all the best, Sir Carl. All the best. Good. We are moving further along. Taking another call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Straight Up.
Yes, Mr. Marlon. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Milton Francis.
Yes, sir. First thing first, Junior Biles, the late Junior Biles. Started out nice with his career, but he eventually faded away in the midstream. Mentally, unfortunate, eh?
But he was spot on. And that's a song I used on the platform some time ago, Milton, when I had said, Mark Golding cares for only vanity, has no love for...
You want to turn it over the Malco for me, sir?
see if you can help me, Madam Producer. This is not the first that it comes.
No, you have to come a little low for me. I don't hear you more and so.
Ensure that the volume of the device is.
No, I turn up my own right up.
Yeah. So yeah, man, go ahead. So we
were saying something, You were saying something about Fade Away.
Yeah, man. I was just recounting that big hit song by Junior Biles and making the point, Milton, that I had occasion to use that on the political stump some weeks ago when I said, among other things, that Mark Golding seeks for only vanity he has no love for, but I didn't use the word. I allowed the crowd to use the word because I'm fairly clever. You understand? And I went on to make the point that he shall fade away.
But right now, technically and politically, Mark Golding is in our best stead than Mr. Holness, who is the Prime Minister.
Let me tell you
whether the people are conscious, whether the mass of the people are conscious of it, yes or no.
Let me tell you this, Milton.
Am I right about that?
Nationwide, consequent on having commissioned Blue Dot, they went out in the field. Nationwide will be releasing poll findings come Monday, 26th May. So we will get to gauge, as it were, the comment you proffered just now regarding Mark being in a whatever position.
Yes, I always ask Mr. Big Man. Remember me tell you, say no. Mark Golding is in a better stead, technically and politically, than the most of the Prime Minister as we speak. Whether the mass of the people are aware or conscious of it, yes or no. So what's wrong with anyway?
You notice that, Milton, man, you like to try and drop some little weak dibby bombs and then run. Don't do that, man. Don't do that. The little chiboom them where you throw, don't throw the little chiboom and then run. Zin? Let us interrogate the little chiboom where you throw. Mark Golding has been opposition leader for 4.5 years. Yes? Do you note, Milton, that over that period of time and in the last budget debate before the elections are held, Mark Golding couldn't come in a budget debate. What he came with was essentially what he called an outline for the first term. He couldn't come in a budget debate. Do you realize that? Do you also realize that the things that Mark Golding has come with are things where I keep already? So in other words, Milton, you tap our woman foot and you look the woman, but the woman happen to have our man. And the things where you're talking to the woman ears, our man done do them there already. You don't realize so you're redundant.
Your Prime Minister seems redundant because I don't know why he's holding on.
About Prime Minister,
I think the leadership of the party should tell him up front and close. Say, boy, you are no longer marketable.
All right, watch me now.
You don't think you ask a question to allow me to answer, no big man?
Sure, go ahead. Complete the thought.
Yes, sir. And you see again, Mr. Morgan, the Prime Minister knows that time coming.
Okay.
But he might try to see what he can do.
Time come for a rural school bus system.
So see if he can hoodwink the people, because the people are vulnerable,
Time come for a rural school bus system, or time come for another 100 JUTC buses? Or is it that time come for a 45% reduction in murders?
All right,
because we're now we're now at a 42% reduction in murders. Are you saying to the public that time come for a 45% reduction in murders?
Interesting,
Are you saying that time comes to establish Portmore as a 15th parish of Jamaica?
You're interested in somebody met in an accident sometime in March, second half March, and they died. The person died last Thursday. So somebody was saying, I wonder if the road people, the traffic authority, put those people after 2 months he has been in the hospital. And similar thing with the murder rate.
It will be good to hear, but I'm saying it will be good to hear from the authorities as to how, because the incident happened in March, the person died, so which month would they attribute the death to?
That's what they got last Wednesday. So I want to know if that is on the road statistics as a fatality. Similar thing with the murder. Other people got shot, and died 2 and 3 and 4 months after the result of the gunshot.
Watch me now, Milton.
The police put those things on the murder rate.
All right, excellent.
When we talk about, when we have big up our politics, we must remember that we have a country. A country to run.
So allow me to say this now, Milton, right? When Peter Bunting was National Security Minister, did we have instances in which a person would have been shot at a particular point in time, go to hospital, yes, and then subsequently die as a result of that gunshot wound sustained prior? Would we have had similar instances?
Big man, we are talking about governance structure now, you know, so, right?
So another governance structure then.
That should be
so the question I put to you a while ago, so Milton, the question I put to you a while ago doesn't touch and concern governance structure?
So you are talking about Mr. Bunting. Big man, too much politics at Jamaica off guard here.
Too much what?
Let's go back to the...
Too much what? As you mentioned that, by the way, hold a moment, Milton. Madam Producer, cue up that 3-minute Peter Bunting for me, please. Go ahead, Milton. Complete the point.
Yes, we were talking, just coming up to the 11 o'clock break here, and gentlemen were talking about statutory declaration.
Yeah,
so
the IUM head boy, who I'm happy he called in.
Concern.
Yeah.
So question now,
what
sir.
About it?
The Prime Minister took it upon himself and took up one of the entity to court. The question, sir, in its capacity as Prime Minister, the taxpayer to pay for those legal fees, sir?
Him do it in his capacity. No, man, this isn't his private capacity. Because as you know, him retain. Well, Anna Milton, man, you ask the question, allow the public to hear wholesome and sensible information, no? Because that doesn't happen here otherwise. Allow the public to hear the sensible something, no, man. The lawyer that the Prime Minister retained was on his own account, and him have to pay that. It's not the Attorney General who will be representing the Prime Minister. The matter of the Prime Minister's statutory deductions are his matter.
I question, Mr. Morgan. Now you give me an answer, right?
Private counsel, sir.
Okay, I will check it out. We're going to check the Accountant General, say what he says true, you know. Right?
I said Attorney General, so you can check the Attorney General chambers.
The Accountant General, I better somebody to check. Anyway, Mr. Morgan.
Yes, sir.
Is there any chance that the Prime Minister statutory declaration for this year will be certified?
Is there any chance for what?
Is there any likelihood that it will be certified, the one for this year?
Who that?
The most honorable Prime Minister statutory declaration.
No, put that question. Watch me now, Milton. Put that question to the constituted authority vis-a-vis the certification of statutory declarations. The Integrity Commission. That is correct, sir.
But you told us that the left must be desired. Have you forgotten?
Yeah, man, I stand by that. You think I withdraw or I vary my positions?
You know, Mr. Morgan.
Yes, sir.
You get a lot of things our founding fathers, they never mention no mothers in it. Never a vision, you know. So going forward.
Let me ask you this, Milton. The park for the people in Mandeville.
Yes, you know, I don't allow you to speak. You see it?
No, man. I allow people to speak, man. No, you that talk a while ago, and it's my time now for something.
But I finish the sentence.
Yeah, complete the point so that I can come back to my point. Go ahead.
All I'm saying, sir. There's a lot of things our founding fathers, and you know, in other time they exclude the mothers. Never a vision, you know. Right? So now that we are seeing the light. Look better than they.
Right. Our founding fathers, Milton, would not have envisaged, yes, 40,000 businesses being closed down. They would never have envisaged a Prime Minister pegging his pension to the current income of the serving Prime Minister. They would not have envisaged, yes, debt going up the way it went up, or the greatest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich.
Andrew can refuse it if you want, you know.
That's a Andrew businessman. You and him can discuss that.
Because, you know, Andrew saying the increase, and in never do that.
Mark Golding's emoluments is over 25 million per annum.
No, sir, we're not
is 9 million per annum.
He should have, when they were in the cabinet submission, he should have informed the finance minister to say it in parliament. So that's what I go down in Hansard.
But that came out publicly,
so
sir.
When the Prime Minister say, you know what, that's time to reach the Accountant General long time.
That's a matter of public record. It's a matter of public record, sir. It's a matter of public record. In fact, you can check with a gentleman who is professing to be an avid access to information researcher now. Yes? Or submitter. Wilfred Rattigan can do an access for information requisition in relation to the Prime Minister's emoluments.
People have proof of Mark Golding giving up some of his money to charities, We don't have proof of Andrew Holness up so far.
Andrew Holness, sir. And that's why I gave you the suggestion a while ago.
Gentlemen,
you and others can use an access to information request to establish what is the Prime Minister's earnings. It is $9 million, sir. $9 million plus per annum.
Mr. Morgan. The people with no say some changes the government trucks are.
All right, watch me now, Milton. Watch me now. All right, let's go. Watch me now, Milton. The Morant Bay Urban Center. Do you think it is good for the PNP to be on social media chastising and castigating the Morant Bay Center where they didn't do anything following the closure of the Goodyear factory?
I know what going.
Them say I just KFC out there and Labour writer make a song and dance about KFC because them love them belly. I can go out there go buy 1 million KFC, you see? Watch me. They also made the point that it's not quite done yet, but yet still them have groundbreaking, ribbon cutting, and all kinds of other points that they make because the Morant Bay Urban Center beat them bad.
So the Prime Minister wants to show people say do good work minus integrity. We want integrity at the highest level, because some people say that the stream more the bottom or more the.
So because Kevin Stevenson, pursuant to female chicken business, did not certify the Prime Minister, you believe that the Prime Minister doesn't have integrity? That makes sense to you?
No. So you are implying that the Integrity Commission is not a coordinated entity, When you
what I'm implying is this.
One person, you know that?
Milton, what I'm implying is this. Kevin Stevens need to come and tell the public the circumstances under which Mrs. Tamika Fiddler Blake left the Integrity Commission, why the woman resigned. And Greg Christie and the same Kevin Stevenson need to come and tell us why Mrs. Keisha Prince Kamika was told, as is alleged, that she should not apply for the post, of Director of Corruption Prosecution when her contract came to an end.
They
need to tell us those things.
Is the Integrity Commission?
You think Integrity Commission can win you an election? You're going to stay up at East Rural and weep and moan and bawl and have gnashing of teeth. If you are trying to place your store
I don't have any teeth in my mouth, so I don't show the teeth going off.
Well, that is between you and your dentist, but what I'll say
anyway,
to you, Milton, I'm running now because I'm going to play this Peter Bunting.
I'm blaming that person.
Anyway, all right, Milton, I'm running now, but I'll tell you this. Before I run, Milton, the government has a second chance program where it is providing at no cost to people like yourself dentures so that you can have your smile restored. If you have no teeth. We are talking about dentistry now. We are talking about dental work now. We are talking about dental work. You are a PNP supporter, but the government has instituted a program so that you can get dentures at no cost to you. If it is, as you have said, that you have no teeth. Go and sign up for the second smiles. John Pollock got a leg from the government. You may get some teeth from the government. Go and focus on that. All the best, Milton. We're gonna have listeners hearing an item of news from some years ago, 2013 I think it was. Listen to the gentleman who have a lot of chat when he's on the political platform. Yes? Listen to Peter Bunting.
A nation which seems to be constantly under threat by marauding gunmen and which has rampant and brazen criminality in several communities looks to this man to help craft effective policies to slay the crime beast. Now, however, National Security Minister Peter Bunting, in an emotional display, believes the lasting solution to deal with Jamaica's crime problem has to come from above. Clearly holding back tears, Mr. Bunting said this is a dark time in his career as minister.
I think after 15 months, I am convinced that